Good evening, everyone. We're going to be getting started. So good to have all of you here with me. It's Monday, and on Mondays, we know what Mondays are for. Mondays are for book club. And it's super duper exciting to be here with you all today. My name is Nina Moore, and perhaps this is your first time with us here on book club. And if it is your first time, welcome. And I pray that you will come back. For those of you that are always here, then you know what to do. We're going to go ahead and put those hashtags in the comments. Book talk. What do we do? Book talk, Goodreads, and booktube, right? Book talk, Goodreads, and booktube. Book talk, book talk, Goodreads, and booktube. And so reading is so important. And I didn't realize how important book club was and reading was until I realized that I wanted to elevate my income. And as I realized I wanted to elevate my income, I started to understand how, in order to have something that I never had before, I had to become what I had never been before. And so reading is so important and book club is so important. And one of the very reasons why book club is so important and so dear to my heart is because one, you can never pour from an empty cup. And so I am here every single Monday to fill your cup. And another reason why book club is so important is because we are never ever going to earn more than we learn. And so because we can never earn more than we learn, it's vitally important that we I'm sorry, one second, y'all. It's vitally important that we understand that we have to elevate our thinking, especially because we have to have the capacity to handle what it is that we're praying to God for. Another reason why book club is so important is because leaders are readers. And if we have any desire to read in any capacity, then we must read so that we can lead. And when I realized that, my entire world changed. But what I also didn't like was I didn't really enjoy sitting down to read a book. So here's what I want you to know. I have a gift. And the gift that I have, I'm going to share with you tonight. The gift that I have is the ability to get into the mind of the author of the book. And I am going to help you to break down this book so that you'll better understand it, that you'll have a better, clear understanding of how to go from where you are to where you want to be. We're currently reading Born Rich by Bob Proctor. And when you get a moment, I would love for you to define the word rich. Define that word rich. And then when you go and look up the definition of the word rich, we've already done that here on Book Club. You're going to read the definition and say, born wealthy, born abundant, which means that you are already born with everything that you need inside of you. Oftentimes, people are looking externally for what's already inside of them. And so we left off right here, smack dab in chapter 3, The Image Maker. And the Image Maker opened up with a poem, It's Up to Me. I get discouraged now, and then I get discouraged now, and then when there are clouds of gray, until I think about the things that happened yesterday. I do not mean the day before or those of months ago, but all the yesterdays in which I had the chance to grow. I think of opportunities that I allowed to die, and those I took advantage of before they passed me by. And I remember that the past presented quite a plight, but somehow I endured it. Sorry, y'all, turned the wrong page. I endured it. The future seemed all right. And I remind myself that I am capable and free, and my success and happiness are really up to me. That poem is so profound to me that it's really up to me. And there's another mentor of mine that used to say to me all the time, Nina, if it's going to be, it's up to who? It's up to me. And I realized I can't blame anybody else for what's not happening in my life, in my marriage, in my business, in my health. I can't blame anyone else because if it's going to be, it's got to be up to me. And so we're in chapter 3. of Born Rich, and we're going to go ahead to the portion where we starting at on page 56. If you actually have the book, we're on page 56, and if not, make sure you guys are sending those last minute reminders out to everybody to let them know that we are here on Book Club, and this is the place that we come together as a community so that we can grow and learn together. Born Rich by Bob Proctor. We're in chapter 3, Persistence Always Pays. A number of years ago, John Cannery, a friend and business partner of mine, was discussing. Give me 1 second, y'all. Let me make someone else. Sharice, I'm going to make you a co-host so you can let everybody in for me, please. And I'm also going to make, I saw Tedra jump on, so let's make her a co-host as well. Tara Smith, I'm also going to make you a co-host before I start reading because I don't want to have people sitting there waiting to get in and then I miss them. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. All right, so persistence always pays. Let's actually look up the definition. Let me grab this device so that I can let's define, because y'all know I'm big on let's understand what we're reading. Let's define the definition of persistence. What happens is when we start to look up these words, we think that we know what words mean until we actually look them up, right? So the definition of persistence. Let's see what it says. The definition of persistence is firm or abstinent continuance in a course of action, listen, in spite of difficulty or opposition. Persistence. So again, persistence is firm or obstinate continuance in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. Persistence, the continued or prolonged existence of something. Persistence. So this chapter, the title of this little subchapter is Persistence Always Pays, meaning when you have a firm or obstinate continuance in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition, it's going to pay off. Everybody type the words persistence in the comments. A number of years ago, John Cannery, a friend and business partner of mine, was discussing Hill's chapter, which is Napoleon Hill, chapter on persistence with me. We both seemed to be equally impressed with the importance of this quality, as well as with its necessity if someone is to reach any worthwhile goal. After a time of nearing the end of our discussion, we each agreed that we would read the chapter on persistence once every day for 30 days. Now I'm going to stop right there. How many of y'all know, and if you can, turn your cameras on, be with me, be present with me if you can. How many of y'all know? They said that they read that chapter every day for 30 days. We can't even get somebody to do something every day for 3-4 days in a row. But because they were advised from their leader and mentor to read this chapter every day for 30 days, I don't even have to ask John. I don't even have to ask John to find out if this exercise helped him. I know that it did. And the exercise has certainly benefited me on numerous occasions. There is an interesting story concerning John Cannery that would be very appropriate to share with you here, since it illustrates the power of both imaging and persistence. Imaging and persistence. Although I had known John Cannery for a couple of years and had talked with him on many occasions, I did not know him as intimately as I do at the time of this writing. It is important that I bring this out here, as I will be referring back to it shortly. The incident I'm about to relate took place in 1971. I was living in Chicago and had just completed a speaking engagement in Edmonton, Alberta. When I returned to my room, there was a telephone message for me to call John Cannery in Belleville, Ontario. I returned the call, and after a couple of minutes of small talk, John said it was important that he meet with me, as he had something that he wanted to discuss, and he preferred not to go into it on the telephone. I asked John to wait while I looked over my calendar, which was packed tight. I was busy, to say the least. Almost every day, I had either a seminar or a speaking engagement in a different city in North America. I explained this to John, and I told him that although I would love to visit, I really didn't know when I could. John was persistent. And so I said, listen, I'm leaving Edmonton for Chicago tonight at midnight. To get to Chicago, I have to go through Toronto. I'll arrive there at 7 a.m. I'll have to change terminals and I'll leave from the second terminal 1 hour and 50 minutes later. I'll be happy to talk to you then, although I don't promise to be too alert after flying all night long. It is also worth mentioning that John had to get up early enough to drive 125 miles from Belleville to Toronto to meet my 7 a.m. arrival. And John said, I'll be there. So before we go any further, sounds like to me, in order to have what it is that you say that you really want, or if it's that urgent, you'll do whatever it takes. People will find a way. That's why I always say, Tedra, people will either find a way or they'll find an excuse. Because when we really want to get something done, he says that he had to get up and drive 125 miles to meet him by 7 a.m. We got people, I think about it. They'll start a business, and if they can't get an answer or find something, oh, you know what? I knew this wasn't going to work. Don't not answer they call. Oh, I knew this wasn't going to work. When ultimately, if you see it, see, when you see it, Steffi, when you see it big, when you say that you see it, when there's excitement, when you really say, I want to help other people, you know what I realize? There is nothing that could separate me from what I say I really want. There is nothing that could separate me from my desire to really, really, really want to be a blessing to other people. There is nothing that could stop or hinder me. There is nothing. And this man says, I really need to talk to you face to face. Then he said, well, I'm going to have about an hour. Maybe I'm going to have an hour. But you need to get up and leave your house probably at about 5 o'clock in the morning to come and talk to me, and I might be able to give you 30 minutes. That's what he said. I don't know if y'all heard what I heard, but what I read, that's what he said. Okay, so the next morning, I sat in the airport coffee shop and listened as John explained how he wanted to do what I was doing. He wanted to conduct seminars. He also explained that he was prepared to pay the price, whatever it might be. I don't know why we are reading this book today, but he says, I am prepared to pay the price, no matter what the price might be. How many of us really think that we are prepared to pay the price for what we say we want, no matter what the price might be? As I listened, it was like hearing a popular song on the radio. You keep hearing it over and over again. In almost every seminar I conduct, there is a man or a woman who wants to do what I'm doing. I've heard it at Biloxi, Mississippi, Booty, Montana, Los Angeles, New York, Montcalm, and Montreal. It was an old tune. Now here I was in Toronto with a friend whom I did not know that well, and he was asking what he had to do. As I was listening, the same images that I had with all the others were flashing through my mind. You know, y'all, when people call you and be like, oh my God, I'm about to crush this. Oh my God, I'm about to go hard. I am about to whoop, 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 whoop. And we sit there like, oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, show me. Show me. He's sitting here saying, show me. Because I hear this all the time. So he says, I'm sitting there, and as I'm listening, these images are going through my mind. I was remembering all the traveling, the fear of standing up and speaking in a large hotel ballroom crowded with people who wanted you to get them excited. Uh-oh. But who were mentally putting you on a trial at the same time thinking, does this guy know what he's talking about? In many situations, such as a sales convention, you had 40 minutes from the beginning to the end to build rapport with a few hundred strangers and get them excited about themselves. Now, here you are, the speaker, and you're speaking in front of people to get them excited about themselves. I hope everybody's hearing what this book is saying right now. He said, I'm standing in front of hundreds of people, having to, for 40 minutes, get people excited about themselves. We could do a whole lesson on just that. He said, I had the fear of standing up, a fear of speaking in front of crowded rooms, ballrooms. These people have me on trial. I'm the speaker. I'm getting paid to speak, but I'm on trial to try to convince people that they want better for themselves. Do y'all hear what he's saying in the book? He says to convince people that they want better. The years of staying up nights, reading and studying, the years of learning by attending seminars all over the continent, the years of working for next to nothing to prepare oneself to hold the attention of a group of people all day in a seminar. These were the images racing across my mind. It had taken me 11 years to get to that point. But how do you say no? You'll never do it. When someone like John asks you, especially when the essence of what you teach is that you can do anything, yet how can you say yes when no one you know, with the exception of 2 or 3 others beside yourself, can earn a living in public speaking business unless they are a celebrity? And that is a whole different story. When John Cannery finished, I told him what I had to do, all the others. What I had told all the others, I'm sorry. When John Cannery finished, I told him what I had told all the others. Yes, you can do it, but it's tough. Make sure that you understand that, John. You will have to do a tremendous amount of studying because you not only have to know what to say, but you must also have the answers to 1001 questions arising as a result of what you say. Some of the questions will come from professional people, medical doctors, engineers, and lawyers who in most cases know what they're talking about. You have to not only be right, but confident as well, or you will be discredited with your entire audience. That only has to happen a couple of times and you're out of business. Let me tell you what a mentor of mine, I'm in a class every Monday in the smack dab in the middle of my day. I'm in class, and a mentor of mine says, nothing in life will pay you better than speaking. Nothing. Not being an actor, not being a business owner, not being any form of celebrity or sports authority, nothing will pay you in life better than speaking. And he also says that everything in life gets better when you get better with your words. Everything in life gets better when you get better with your words. I'm just telling you what he said. I gave y'all that for free. Right? So he says, it had taken me 11 years to get to that point. He says, you not only have to study these ideas, but you must use them as well. That's where people get jacked up. So a lot of people read the information or they listen to motivational things or they listen to audibles, but what tends to happen is they don't apply it. They don't then, and you know what it is? They think they gotta wait and hoard the information when you have to actually apply the information. When do you apply it? Immediately. So a lot of times I'll read something and I'll immediately go live about it because what I'm doing is I'm reiterating what I've learned and I'm applying it immediately. Immediately. Faith without works is dead. So we said, let's just say we start a business, right? Most of you are business owners on here. You start a business. You start the business and then you don't do anything. You sit. Faith without works is dead. Even ignorance on fire will burn a forest down. Ignorance on fire will burn a forest down. I don't have to know how it all works because ignorance on fire will burn a forest down. So now he's saying you got to use them. You got to study it, but then you got to use them as well. And there will be no conviction in your talks. If you don't use the skill set that you read about, hear about, learn about, sit on classes and trainings about, if you don't use them, guess what he just said? There will be no conviction when you talk. So why can't most people close other people? Because there's no conviction when they talk because they're what I like to call addicted to information but allergic to execution. I gave y'all that for free. Now, when you do copy me, make sure you don't plagiarize. When you say that, give me credit for it. Then you can say it. Okay? Y'all gonna stop doing that. Just saying stuff and don't say where you got. You got it from me. You're addicted to what? Information and allergic to execution. So that's what happens. So there's no conviction, there's no power and authority when you talk. You know, I had to speak this weekend, and what was so crazy is I have a format, a storm format that I format when I have to speak because I've taken lots of course. I'm in a course right now. Or I don't know, we don't call it a course, but for lack of better words, I'm gonna call it a course. And so I've been to this entrepreneur speakers business meeting 3 times. I've hosted it twice. I attended it once, and now I'm in a weekly work. I guess we call it a workshop, right? And so we have a method in which we prepare our speeches with. And I had prepared my speech based on the fact that I was supposed to speak in front of or be speaking to aspiring entrepreneurs or people who might have aspired to start a business. Well, the venue was changed at the last minute, Marguerite, at like 11 o'clock the night before. So when the venue was changed, what happened was anybody that probably was going to show up as a guest, they had no way to know that this venue changed, Sharice, and we ended up a few minutes from the actual event space where we were supposed to be at this library. So the only people that showed up at the event were people who were already entrepreneurs. I immediately had to shift what I was prepared to speak on because now I'm no longer people speaking to people who aspire to be an entrepreneur. Now I'm speaking to people who are already entrepreneurs. But I had already worked it. I planned it. Like this, I'm gonna speak to people, and I had this. I mean, I literally had an acronym and everything I learned in my training today. I'm like, I was prepared, y'all. I had my call and response prepared. I was prepared. And then, Sharice, you were there. I got up, and literally right before starting to talk, I was poised. I had no clue really where it was gonna go, but I did have a method in my mind of which I had learned through this storm method. So all you do is you start computing now in your mind how to revamp what you have to say. And I'm telling you right now, the only reason why I was able to close the way that I did is because I had conviction. What he says here, I had conviction because not only do I study it, he says you have to study these ideas, but then you must use them. So why did I have conviction about it, Sharice? Why was I able to close? Because I studied them, but I used them. I don't sit on the information so that when I do speak, it sounds like I have conviction. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? So that's what happened, okay? So not to mention the fact that you'll be a walking physical contradiction to what you teach. How can we teach something that we don't even use? We teach it, but we don't use it, so we don't have any conviction. And then you're now contradicting what you're standing up to teach. So I can't stand in front of a group, train and teach on something that I have no desire to even do myself. So when people are trying to figure out why there's no success happening for them, why they feel like they're on a hamster wheel, could it be you're addicted to information but allergic to the execution? Could it be? Could it be that you have yet to just take action because you're trying to overanalyze it? And I'm going to tell you this, analysis paralysis. When you analyze and you overanalyze the information too much, you then get paralyzed. It's called analysis paralysis. Now you're paralyzed by all this information that you have, although you wanted all of the information. Ignorance on fire will burn the forest down. Take action. Y'all go ahead and type in take action in the comments, right? And so it is next to impossible, for example, to have a sick person teaching on health. I'm going to tell y'all right now, I don't want nobody sick talking to me about health. I don't want to, as a hairstylist, y'all, when I was in the salon, and you can ask Marguerite because Marguerite was my client for many years, there is not one time that you will walk in the salon and not see my hair done. There is not one time. Not one time. I don't even understand how people, these girls, and I don't know if maybe they are gifted, but I'm not going to let somebody touch me that isn't even representing themselves well. Take action. You must develop showmanship and voice control. So there are times when you're talking when you got to be your voice might have to be way up here, and then there are times that you're talking, especially during a close, your voice has to come down. You got to understand now, he says, that you have to have showmanship and voice control, and on it goes. You cannot be a run. You cannot get up to speak and you want to get everything. Everything is not always meant to say. We have to learn to control our thoughts. And literally, I gave an entire presentation in 14 minutes. A presentation that I normally speak about an hour on. I gave it in 14 minutes. And in 14 minutes and 7 seconds, closed an entire room of people, of existing entrepreneurs. Why? Because I had showmanship and voice control. In short, John, for everyone who makes it, 1,000 will fail miserably. Usually, when this is explained, the person will say that they still want to go ahead, but you never hear from them again. In one sense, John was no exception. He still wanted to go ahead. However, in every other way, he was an exception. I did see him again. I told him what to read and I told him what to do, and he read it and he did it. John read hundreds of books, he devoured them. You know why you have to read hundreds of books? Because when you're speaking, what you put in is what comes out. Garbage in, garbage out. If you don't fill your my mentor says this, and you can't use this because it's his. If you don't fill your fridge when you get up to speak, we can tell because you're standing in yourself. But you know, we were learning this today while I was in class. He said, y'all do realize Eric Thomas has a very, very famous speech. And Eric Thomas's very famous speech is you gotta want to have success as much as you want to breathe. Right? Y'all heard that? Y'all heard Eric Thomas's speech, right? Have y'all, yes or yes? Has everybody heard that speech? If you want to have success, you gotta want it as bad as you breathe, right? Guess what, y'all? That's not even Eric Thomas's speech. It's something he repeated. But he repeated it, and guess what he did? He made it famous. But it was never his speech. But he spoke it with such, it's the one speech that he's known for. What is another person who speaks, and there's one speech that this man is known for? I'm certain one of y'all could tell me. Because I mean, literally, there's another person. And he says, what? Go ahead, let me see it in the chat. Matter of fact, Les Brown. Les Brown. You got to be what? Hungry. Hungry. Right? Les Brown is known for this one thing, but that is years and years and years and years of, because what happens is as we speak, that's what comes out of our mouths. I promise, if you, everything in life, hear me when I say this, everything in life gets better when we get better with words. Sorry, y'all. When we get better with words, I thought I turned the ringer off. Everything in life gets better when we get better with words. Everything in life gets better when we get better with words. And sometimes the words are, you got to be quiet. Because some people don't talk enough, and then some people talk too much. We have to find the balance. Okay, so he says John was diligent. He read, he devoured the books. He narrated them onto tapes and then played the tapes in the car. At his own expense, he followed me all over the country and sat in hundreds of seminars. He wrote thousands of pages of notes and studied them diligently. Any chance I get, I'm in somebody's seminar. Every chance I get. I am investing in what I say I want, who I say I want to become. Every chance I get, even if it's virtual. Y'all don't know that most times I'm in here, I'm on a virtual class. Because every chance I get, I'm signing up for something. Because I don't know what one thing I am going to hear that might be the thing that turns the light bulb on for me. Every time, even in my business, anytime there's a call, I'm on it because I don't know what one thing, Marguerite, that I might hear that might light my fire. I don't know what one clue, what one thing is going to be the little spark that I need to start a forest fire. Right? And so finally I would have him open and close the seminars. So look at what happened. See, let me tell y'all what happens. Oh, Marguerite, they used to say it to you. They used to say it to you. Oh, you just gonna follow Nina around and be her rookie? Yo, you just gonna follow Nina around. Oh, y'all just her rookies, huh? You just gonna follow. See, those are haters. Let me tell you what. Those are haters who wish that they had the opportunity to be where you are in your shoes, sitting with me. That's just a hater that's saying that. But here's the reality. Listen to what this says. Listen to what this says. Let me tell y'all, I just keep showing up, right? And because I keep showing up and I keep showing up and I keep showing up to stuff, I remember going to an event and Nehemiah Davis pulled me to the side and he said, "You know what, Nina?" He said, "I like seeing you in the rooms." He said, I really like seeing you in the rooms. He said, "Don't stop showing up." Okay. And then I had a conversation with him about what I said I wanted. Let me tell you how he tested me. Ooh, let me tell you how he tested me, Marguerite. He called me at 11 o'clock at night. And he said, "Hey, Nina, there's this entrepreneur speaker thing that Marcus is doing. I know what you said you wanted. You need to be at this class." I said, "Oh, okay. Well, when is it?" He said, "Tomorrow." I said, "Oh, okay." He said, "Yeah, I'm going to send you the link right now for you to go register." He said, "I'm going to give you this code. It'll give you a little discount." The class was $2,000. He called me the night before. Now, I'm going to be very, very honest with y'all. I didn't technically have the money. I pulled out a credit card because I know what I asked him for in our conversation. And then he told me what I needed, some of the things. Because some of the things you don't find out until you're in the rooms. So I paid to be in the room. And then I kept showing up at every event that I could show up at. I was there. And then guess what happened, Marguerite? Just like John Cannery, I then was asked to host the event. See, what happens when you're present in the room, studying, applying, because now you got conviction, your gift will make room for you. Wow, child. So he says, finally, I would have him open and close the seminars. Why did John Cannery start opening and closing the seminar? Because he, on his own dime, on his own expense, followed me all over the country and sat in hundreds of seminars. People want success, but they want it as long as it's comfortable. They want it as long as it's cute. They want it as long as it don't cost you anything. See, but what I realize is what I want, Sharice, it's going to cost me something. My time, my talent, my money, my rest. Ain't no rest while I'm in a launch. Ain't no rest. What is that? If I ain't tired right now while I'm launching a business in multiple countries, something is wrong. Something is wrong. If I'm going to bed, hee hee ha ha, hee chee chee cha cha. Now, when I said in February, and it is recorded that by December 31st, 2025, Nina Moore is going to earn $100,000 a month. So in order for me to earn $100,000 a month, I certainly can't do what I was doing to earn $20,000 a month or $30,000 a month or $40,000 a month or even $50,000 a month because I've already done that. So that means that I've got to 10x my effort based on what this is saying, Tedra, Sharice, that I got to 10x my effort because I said $100,000 a month. Y'all type in 100,000 in 100,000, 100,000, 100,000, 100,000. Y'all type 100,000 up in them comments, okay? And so he says, John, open and close the seminars. Then he would conduct a part of the seminar himself. He went from traveling on his own dime, traveling all around, following him all around, opening and closing, to doing a part of the seminar himself. In the beginning, he was full of fear. He was soaking wet. Oh, and by the way, today I was actually asked if I would do a part of the seminar tonight, but I couldn't do it because I actually have a Zoom of my own. I just want you to know that your gifts will make room for you. When you do what? Yes, I was asked. You think you can come on and teach on messaging tonight? And I was like, I mean, I wish that I could, but I can't because I have a 6 o'clock, a 8 o'clock, I just can't. I just could not do it. Y'all, your gift will make room for you. So this says, listen to this. In the beginning, he was full of fear. He was soaking wet. Don't think that when I'm at these events with all of these multi-millionaires who are earning more income in 1 month than I've been earning in a year or 2 or 3 or 4. Don't think I'm standing there and that doesn't mean courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is I'm going to do it anyway. So when I went into the barbershop the other day, did you think that I was okay with going in the barbershop? No, I didn't want to go in the barbershop, but courage is not the absence of fear. It's just I know what I want. And what I want, my actions have to match what I say I want. Because guess what doesn't lie? The laws of attraction. So I can lie, we can lie, but because the law of attraction doesn't lie, we can act like it's what we want, but then we don't do anything to move. And guess what? God is like, oh, you don't want it. You don't want it. Why should I send you any customers or clients or prospects or whatever? Why should I give you favor? You don't want it. You sitting still on something I gave you. You put the talents in the ground. Uh-oh. 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 Oh, you put the talents in the ground. I didn't tell you to put the talents in the ground. But you put the talents in the ground. He like, you don't want it? And you know, let me tell you something. I wrote this down. I was in class today. I was going to talk about it a little bit tonight on my call. We put our money in the bank and we put our money in prison. I'm just going to tell y'all that you know, that when you put your money in the bank, you put it in the prison, because when we put it in the bank, it don't work for us. Anyway, let me finish. Okay. So so he was full of fear. He was soaking wet. Sometimes he would be so worried about what the audience thought of him that he would forget everything he knew. And as you know, an audience can be very cruel. Despite all of this, he continued. Keep in mind that it was costing him money because he was not being paid. So don't think that I go and I spend my 2 full days at these entrepreneurs that I'm getting paid. No, I'm showing up because there's a bigger thing on the horizon of what I want. But when you want access, you got to pay for access. It don't come just because you're friends with somebody. No, you pay for access. And if you don't think that you got to pay for access because you're friends with somebody, you'll never get the access. Because friendship don't have nothing to do with it. Every time they have something, we pay for it. We don't ask for no freebies. We pay for it. And Marguerite, you know these people don't charge cheap for their stuff, right? But we pay for it. And when we go to serve, we pay for it. We pay for the gifts and the food and the toys and then we go serve the food and we spend holidays that we should be with our family. But no, I know what I want. I know what I want. And sometimes what we want, y'all, is literally gonna cost you in the beginning. Short-term sacrifices for long-term gain. So yeah, I'm going to follow them around. I certainly am on my dime. I certainly am. Because now, what I was paying for, I'm opening up for. I'm closing for. I'm being asked to show up. So yeah, I'm going to follow them around. Yeah, I'm going to sacrifice my time. Yeah, I don't feel like driving an hour into the city, but I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah, certainly I am. Every chance I get, to the point where I'm going to move closer to the city so that I'm not driving an hour. See, y'all, somebody is going to catch this. I'm going to move close. I don't like moving, y'all, and I got a lot of stuff. Like the simple thought, the thought of having to move. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay? But listen here. I know what I want. You're going to move closer to the city just so you could be closer to the. Yes! Oh, some. Okay, let's come on. Let me just keep reading because I know this is too much, right? Despite all of this, he continued while it was costing him money and he wasn't being paid. John Canary had built an image of himself doing what I was doing. He built an image of himself doing what I was doing, and he would not quit. He was persistent, and it worked, and it always has, and it always will. Today, he has earned the respect of many of the world's largest corporations. He has spoken in almost every major city in North America. He has also earned more in one day than he was earning in a year when I first met him. Why? Because what did I say, y'all? Speaking will pay you more than anything in the world. Speaking. Because everything in life gets better when you get better with words. Everything in life gets better. So, he says, so if someone with numerous degrees after their name tells you that image making and persistence doesn't work, just look John Canary up and ask him, because he will tell you, I know that you can do it because I did it. And I'm going to tell y'all, you don't even have to look John Canary up. You can look Nina Moore up. And I can tell you that I know that this works because I did it and I am doing it. I love the way certain people like Darius Daniels, he's a master communicator. So we drive an hour to go to church every Sunday because I need to sit in that environment because he's a master communicator. I love the way one of my mentors, Marcus Roizer, speaks. So what am I going to do? I'm going to be in everything I'm going to be at everything he's at. I'm going to be in everything he's in. Every class he's teaching, I'm on it. If it's a free class, I'm on it. If it's I'm on it because I know what I want. And I know that being around them, studying what I'm studying has changed the way that I talk. It's changed the way that I deliver. It's changed my posture. And everybody can see it. So, Philip Nicola, a minister in Santa Ana, California, preached a sermon on a similar idea one Sunday that I was fortunate enough to hear when I was living there. He said, keep your mind on a higher image than a lower concern. Y'all should write that down. Keep your mind on a higher image than a lower concern. I realize that it's not always an easy thing to do, but it pays great dividends for the person who develops the mental strength to do it. And that is what it takes, mental strength. Y'all type in mental strength. Keep your mind on a higher image rather than a lower concern. Build your image now and develop the mental strength to hold it. A number of years ago, prior to Napoleon Hill's death, Earl Nightingale condensed and narrated Think and Grow Rich onto a long playing record. At the end, Mr. Hill came on to close the record. He said, and now, as I stretch out the hand of friendship through time and space, let me remind you not to go searching for opportunity in the distance, but reach out and embrace it right where you are. I am here to tell every single one of us that are watching live right here on Zoom, maybe you're on YouTube, that everything you want is right where you are. Some of you, I don't know your names. I can't see it. Just says Zoom user and iPhones. But I'm here to tell you that everything you want, sirs and ma'ams, is right where you are. Build your image now and develop the mental strength to hold it. Waddles said, this thinking stuff permeates and penetrates the entire universe. We have to think. It permeates the entire universe. They are both telling us the same thing. So build your image now, right where you are. Don't even wait until you finish this book. Build it now and let the remaining pages in this book strengthen the image. You don't even have to try. Just let the image of a more prosperous you flow to the center of your consciousness, it's already here. So let it appear. You gotta start seeing yourself as the prosperous, affluent, abundant, wealthy person that you are. You are wealthy. You are abundant. You were born that way. You were born that way. That's how you were born. All that other stuff, I was born that way. No, you weren't born that way, but we were born wealthy and abundant and prosperous, and everything that we need is already inside of us. It's already here. For many years now, I've been very aware of the power that flows through you to accomplish good in your life. When you hold the proper image in your mind, and this great truth has been responsible for many wonderful things in my own life. I have also seen numerous examples of what a proper image will do in the lives of other people. Paul Husty's story. I would be remiss if I concluded this chapter without sharing Paul Husty's story with you. It all began when I received a telephone call from Charlie Beck, who was the vice president of sales for the Southwestern Home Office of the Prudential Insurance Company of America in Houston, Texas. He invited me to speak at the company's regional business conferences to be held in Toronto. He explained they had 4 different regions, and each region was coming in for 3 days to the conference. This meant that they wanted me to work in Toronto for approximately 12 days. Although I was living in Los Angeles at the time, Toronto was my hometown. My family and my friends all lived there, so naturally the idea appealed to me. But I asked Charlie how long I could have on the program, and he said about an hour. I think it was worth mentioning that at this point that I have not as yet learned to teach anyone much in an hour, and I told him so. I explained that if he would give me 2 mornings in the program with each region, I would be glad to come and do the job for him. I wanted 2.5 hours each morning. Charlie's southern accent was interrupted by a deep belly laugh as he explained that they had never done anything like that in a 100-year history of the company. All of their executives had to take part in the program, so they never gave anyone that much time. However, I stood firm. I gave him the name of a couple of the other vice presidents in his company whom I had worked for, and I suggested that he call them to find out if my idea had any merit. I hung up the phone reluctantly because I really wanted the job. I was somewhat surprised when one of Charlie's aides phoned me back to say that they were going for it. He also told me he didn't know how I had talked Charlie into doing it, but I was given 2 mornings on the program. I made up my mind right on the spot that I was going to leave these people with something special. And if they chose to use it, they could change their lives overnight. When can y'all change your lives? When can you change your lives? Overnight. See, the problem is that most people are saying that reluctantly. And I am telling you right now that if my life could change overnight with one decision that I made, your life can change overnight. So not to mention that what it would do for their sales records. I was going to speak on the power of an image, or to be more specific, the power of self-image and the benefits of holding a positive one. At the conclusion of the program for one of the regions, a gentleman came up to me and said, it was imperative that he talk to me. He said he had a problem and he felt that I had the answer because he was impressed with the ideas that I had explained during the seminar. There were approximately 200 people in each one of these conventions. I explained to this man that many of the people wanted to talk to me, but I did not have the time to talk to everyone individually. I also explained to him that I had another appointment and had to leave immediately to be there on time. Still, he was persistent. So I agreed to meet him the following morning in the coffee shop for breakfast. I can remember our meeting as if it were yesterday. The 2 of us sat down just inside the door of the coffee shop at the Hyatt House Hotel on Avenue Road. As soon as we sat down, he started talking. He informed me that he had to tell me something about himself so that I could understand the problem. Let me see something. Are we going to finish this? I don't know. So we can understand the problem. He said he did not want me to think that he was bragging, but it was necessary for me to have this information. He began telling me he was a good man, and I already knew that about him just by looking at him. I could feel it about him. He went on to explain that he had worked for Prudential for more than 20 years, and he had been in management for all but 2 of those years. He concluded by saying, I'm a good manager. Next, he stated that he had a good record and good people, and he was very well respected by the executive staff of this company. No sooner had he uttered those words than Charlie Beck and Dick Merrill, the senior vice president from Houston, came in. They came over to our table, congratulated Paul on his year, exchanged a few words with us, and went on to their own table. Paul and I sat down again and resumed our conversation. He said they meant what they said. I knew that it was true. It wasn't mere flattery. It was sincere, merited compliment that Paul had received from his 2 senior executives. Finally, he said, now this is my problem. I run a district office in Wichita, Kansas. Out of over 500 offices Prudential has, our office stands in 175th place. Now, that's not bad. Nothing to be ashamed of, and it wasn't. It was a fairly good standing. And then he said, my problem is I know that we are good enough to be in the top 100, and we're not. Every year that I go for it, but I never seem to make it. And at the moment, I knew the cause of Paul Hussey's problem. I explained to him that he was letting the sales sheet dictate the image he was holding in his mind. I hope somebody heard that right now. You're allowing the sales sheet, you're allowing the numbers, you're allowing the structures to do what? Hold the image of what you see yourself in your mind. He saw himself as being number 175, and he was doing his utmost to move up to the top 100. He worked hard. He worked with his people, and he explained previously he had good people. I showed Paul that it was imperative that he see himself in the top 100, regardless of what the sales sheet said. I hope somebody caught that. In other words, he had to act as if he already was in the top 100. He had to become mentally what he wanted to be on the physical plane. He also had to learn how to communicate this idea to his entire staff. Suddenly, I started to see the lights go in Paul's mind. We talked for a while longer, and I explained as much as I could about the mind to him, how it worked, and especially about the power of holding the proper image there. Paul thanked me for the time that I had given him and returned to Wichita. A day or so later, I received a long-distance call from Wichita, and it was Paul Hussey. He wanted to know where I would be holding seminars when the conferences were completed, and I told him that I would be in Southern Illinois for Prudential's Midwestern home office. He asked if he could join me and travel with me for 2 or 3 days. I explained to Paul that I had already made a deal with Charlie Beck to do our entire series of seminars for the whole of Southwestern home office, and one of the sites chosen was Paul's town, Wichita. Nevertheless, since we weren't going to be there for at least 6 weeks, Paul explained that he wanted to join me immediately. So at his own expense. Does anybody see this common thing here? At his own expense, he flew some 600 miles to spend 3 days with me. We went together from Litchfield to LaSalle, Illinois. We spent hours talking as we were driving from one city to another. And he sat in the seminar and took copious notes all day long. In the evening, we would spend more hours conversing. Finally, Paul returned to Wichita and started to apply these ideas. He started to work with the proper image, and as a result, sales started to climb. For some strange reason, Paul's superiors saw fit to move him from Wichita, where he had been for a number of years, to Pittsburgh, Kansas, where the district office stood in 163rd position. This certainly didn't seem like a very fitting reward for all the effort that he advanced on the company's behalf. Still, Paul accepted this move as a challenge. And a mere 6 months later, the district in Pittsburgh stood the number 11 in the entire company. So yeah, am I moving closer? I certainly am. I certainly am moving closer. Does everybody understand this now? See, each year, Prudential recognized that he went from 175 to number 11 when he moved. Yup. Each year, Prudential recognizes the top 52 districts, the top 10%, by awarding them a citation. The Pittsburgh district had not had a citation in 9 years, but just a short 6 months after Paul Hutsey took over the helm, they were the top 2%. They were in the top 2%. Just 2 years later, they missed the number 1 spot by a matter of a few percentage points. Today, Paul Hutsey is in Houston as vice president of sales for the Southwestern Territory. Clearly, he is a man who learned well the awesome power of an image held in his mind. So I'm going to tell y'all right now, you can't fake self-image, because who you really think you are is what everybody else sees. It doesn't matter what hair we put on our head. It doesn't matter what makeup we put on. It doesn't matter if we grow a beard, go bald. It doesn't matter. Who we really think we are, that is what people see. It's like dogs smell fear and people know BS. We cannot fake who we are. Just because we talk like somebody else, post like them, dress like them, we cannot fake who we are. Self-image. So it says, if you were to talk to Paul Hutsey today, he would be quick to tell you that he will never let present results dictate the image that he holds in his mind. Never allow your present results to dictate the image that you hold in your mind. Rather, he holds the image of what he wants, and then he acts as if he already has it. Paul Hutsey is without question one of the best examples you will ever find of building an image in the mind and then executing it. So what do you have to do first? You can't execute it until you build the image in your mind. He has become a serious student of the mind, and I am happy to count him among my good friends. You could be doing precisely what Paul Hutsey had been doing all those years. Make up your mind right now to do what I have suggested you start doing. Start right where you are. Build the image of what you want, and then act as if you already have received it. Express somewhat differently. Act like the person that you want to become. Don't look for, I wish I had me somebody like Nina. You become like Nina. You become her. You become that person, because then when you become that person, not meaning you say what they say, you do what they do. What I'm saying is you pick up their habits, you pick up their traits. You do what they do in that aspect. Then you begin to attract it. That's what you should want to do, right? And so he says, make up your mind right now. Do what I told you to do. Start right where you are and build the image of what you want, and then act as if you already received it. Express somewhat differently, become the person you want. As Goethe, the German philosopher, once wrote, before you can do something, you must first be something. Before you can do something, you must first be something. And as you finish this chapter, lay the book down and become very, very relaxed. Let creative energy fill your consciousness, and then mold it into an image of yourself in a much more abundant state of life. See yourself already in possession of what you previously only dreamed of. Become extremely conscious of the truth that your entire being is not only filled with, but surrounded by the original substance all images are made of. Do not keep reading page after page of this book without acting on the suggestions that I have been giving you. In the introduction and again in the first chapter, we emphasize that no amount of reading or memorizing will make you successful in life. It is the understanding and the application of wise thought that counts. Understanding and application are the keys that will unlock the door to a truly abundant life. It would be tempting for you to flip from one page or another to the next thinking. I know this, I know that, but it makes no difference how accurately you can parrot back these concepts. You might even be able to recite them verbatim. Nevertheless, if you are not witnessing the results in your own life of the good that you desire, you simply do not understand the power and, in fact, the necessity of acting on these ideas. Make the time right now. this very minute to build the image in your mind of yourself already in possession of prosperity. Write a brief description of your image on a card, carry it in your pocket, and read it a number of times every day until the image fills your consciousness. Begin your written statement with this: I am so happy I now see myself with. I'm going to say it again. You got to start your statement that you put on a little index card. I am so happy I now see myself with. I am so happy I now see myself with. Be good to yourself. Treat yourself to the very best life that life has to offer. Remember, quality is not expensive, it's priceless. And that is the end of chapter 3. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That was bravo. All right, next week we'll start chapter 4, Let Go and Let God. All right, so I am so glad that we had this time together. This is so good. I'm so glad we had this time together, and I pray that there's something that you gain from being here with us today. I want you to make sure that you're following me on all my social media platforms. On Instagram, I am at the real REAL Nina Nina Moorer Moorer, and you pretty much can find me with that same name, Nina Moorer, or the Wellness Queen on TikTok. On Facebook, I'm Nina Rochelle Moorer. Let's make sure that we are following on all platforms. I will have up the registration for our virtual Bible study, which will be held Saturday morning, July the 5th, because all the ladies said they did not want me to cancel it. All right. We have a big women's event that we're having here with Cynthia McKnight, Lady Cynthia McKnight, who literally, you guys, is a temperament coach. If you desire to lead in any capacity of your life, she helps you to find your temperament. And once you figure out your temperament, I promise you will be a better leader. There's a test you're going to take. There's an amazing event that's only, it's almost at capacity. The event is going to be for only 50 women. All right. And so I would strongly suggest that if you can get here to Atlanta on July the 12th, the event is only $100. And if you really, really, really want to be there, but you just can't fork the $100 and you're here and you know you could be here, then you need to speak to me, because she does have a few spots that are sponsorships that she is allowing me to give her names for. But if you take that sponsorship and you don't show up, you will never, ever be invited to something else. Okay? Because that means somebody else could have had your spot. So July the 12th, an amazing event here in Atlanta with Lady Cynthia McKnight, as well as Bible study on July the 5th. And I'm getting ready to do a wellness and wealth call at 8 p.m., our vision mastery call for Monday night, where we're going to show you how to get to the bag. Simple, how to help people have a whole lot of fun and get to the bag. If you want to be on that call, you can come right back to this Zoom link in 1 hour. Okay, in 1 hour. So listen, I want you to enjoy the rest of your evening. For those of you that we won't see till next Monday, I'm hoping that you'll come back with somebody else next Monday. Don't be a gatekeeper, right? We share, because sharing is caring. But enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. Be kind to one another. Do a good deed and pay it forward. Pay it forward and be nice. Be nice. And always remember that God loves you. I love you. And there's absolutely